What's up, ego hackers? This is Chase, because csjoseph.life and hashtag premium lectures, season 30, episode 15, Hypocrisy of INTPs. So, anyway, folks, the hypocrisy of INTPs. INTPs are very fascinating people. You know, as a fellow NTP, I can kind of understand where they're coming from in their life. And it can be pretty problematic for sure. I mean, because like oftentimes it's funny. It's like, oh, you know, it's like I'm calling my brother a hypocrite, you know, because I'm an NTP as well. So you can kind of guess like how uncomfortable that would make me. You know what I'm saying? And it's no secret that, like, you know, sometimes I tend to give INTPs special treatment in terms of the content that I produce relating to INTPs, because I love INTPs, and, you know, me being a fellow NTP, I will admit I am biased in that regard. It's definitely a thing. But the thing is, though, is that, like, INTPs definitely can be a source of what is known as prime evil. They absolutely can. They can be a major issue collectively for humanity, as much as just, you know, at a micro level. And oftentimes it's really as a result of them feeling justified in their evil. And sometimes they will justify it on their own. Other times other people will justify it for them, and then they feel like they have all the justification they need to mete out justice and fairness upon the world. And then they start to value things improperly with how they approach things. And we all really need to be just kind of aware of this, because INTPs are extremely subtle in their hypocrisy. Most people don't even see their hypocrisy coming until after it's too late, very too late. And again, you know, I make these lectures specifically for people who live with any of the 16 types, or they're in a relationship with the 16 types, or they're parenting. But it's literally just so that the audience can watch this to generally understand the hypocrisy of the 16 types, you know, and for this episode it's INTPs. But then, like, how to deal with them, how to expose them, how to recognize that they're being hypocrites, and to not really let them get away with it. It's really for everyone else's benefit. It's not so much for the benefit of INTPs. So just keep that in mind. That's been a general theme of what I've done with this particular season, you know, talk about hypocrisy. And I think, you know, as we get closer into like the next series of premium content, where I'm going to be discussing the deadly sins of each of the types, basically, it was really important to set down a, you know, and deadly sins and living virtues, but it's really important to kind of just lay down this foundation of hypocrisy, so that the next series that we go through, you guys can kind of get an idea of how it all fits together. This is part of a grand narrative, is my point. So I appreciate you folks giving me patience, you know, getting through this content and kind of understanding where it's going. But what I'm saying is, like, I'm building and building and building onto more things, and the deadly sins and the living virtues of each of the 16 types. We're going to be doing an 8-episode season on that, and I believe that's the next season we're going to be doing, where we're going to be discussing that, because this hypocrisy content just goes directly into that, and it directly applies. So, but with INTPs, it's no different. INTP hypocrisy is extremely difficult to spot, and it's also really hard to deal with. It's extremely difficult to deal with, because, like, they're like this invisible hand in your life, or like this guiding hand in your life, and this helping hand, this invisible helping hand that you can end up coming to rely on. Because INTPs, let's be honest, are some of the absolute most reliable of all of the 16 types. They really are, especially when they're being productive, especially when they're mega loyal to a particular cause or person. They're just amazing like that. And they know what their duty is. They know they're extremely supportive people. They know what you want, and they're very proactive in such a way where they can actually provide warning and get ahead of some serious problems. However, that's not to say that their TI hero is not, at risk of dealing with hubris. That's not to say that their FI demon is not capable of being absolutely entitled, because it really absolutely is. And what makes it even worse is that their SE trickster can really, really cloud their judgment. Not just in that they can end up becoming a victim of normalcy bias, where they end up having normalcy bias, while dealing with abuse. And that's one thing that I'm personally dealing with in my life, is trying to, as a fellow NTP, trying to cut out the normalcy bias that I have when it comes to people who abuse me in my life. And the people who abuse me the most, honestly, it really is family. It's really what it comes down to. It's family. And because of how they've abused me throughout my life, I end up myself becoming an abuser, or have such horrible normalcy bias or Stockholm syndrome that I invite further abuse, or I can't even live life without having a source of abuse. It's kind of like how crusaders just need some kind of adversity in their life in order for them to feel normal, etc. Well, when it comes to abuse, it ends up, and becoming that way. And INTPs are no different, but I would actually venture to say that INTPs have it even worse than I do. Because the INTP has an SE trickster through cognitive orbit that would actually so-called come to the defense of the SI child, whereas with my SI inferior, I have my powerful SE demon that's going to be coming to the defense of SI inferior whenever it gets stepped on, etc. And that huge rage can come out, asserting and establishing and enforcing boundaries. That can also be a thing. And it continues to be a problem, ultimately. But the thing is, though, is that SE trickster really inhibits an INTP's ability to actually even identify abuse in their life, and then as a result, their SI child becomes imprinted with it, and then their NE parent ends up becoming irresponsible, such that the INTP ends up with their ISFP demon mimicking the exact same abuse that they receive, and they themselves become abusive. And this is one of the biggest hypocrisies, but it really comes down to the trickster just not being aware of what other people are doing to them. And then they're also triple systematic like myself, such that their lack of awareness of what other people are doing, and it's funny because they assume they know what other people are doing. They'll go that far. For me, it's more I just don't care what other people are doing with my SE demon, but for them, they do care. They want to know what other people are doing. They assume they know what other people are doing, but then they end up being completely blind to the abuse in their life. And then they themselves become an abuser at the same time. And that's, deadly sin of gluttony can definitely do that to you, and which they have. And I don't mean gluttonous with just food, although most INTPs I meet are obese. Let's be honest. That's just kind of a thing. It's just I kind of come to expect that from INTPs. They're either insanely skin and bones or super tall like that, or they're basically obese. It's not really met very many who are in between. I've probably maybe met one INTP in my life, one INTP male who actually has a six-pack. The rest of them, no. And it's because they just get so stuck in their idolatry, basically, because it's not that they're trying to cope like an SI inferior is trying to cope with life. It's more of that the SI child of the INTP becomes insanely indulgent. And when it is indulgent, and when people enable its indulgence, that ends up causing them to drag everyone else down, because instead of being someone who is supposed to be producing more than they consume, the INTP ends up consuming more than they produce. And honestly, whether or not people are willing to admit it or not, the INTP consumes more than any of the other 16 types. They consume more than anyone. It doesn't matter if they're male or female. They are very consumptuous, constantly consuming. And this is probably their number one hypocrisy, is that they oftentimes will be productive, but then they'll start to feel like everyone else owes them productivity. It's hey, I'm really supportive, but if you're not going to support me in the exact way that I want, then I'm just going to give up. All the while, it's like the INTP is setting a trap They're setting a trap for other people. It's like, hey, I'm going to be here and I'm going to help you. I'm going to support you. I'm going to be loyal to the cause. And I'm going to use my brilliance, for you and for your advantage and for your benefit here. And then all of a sudden, they'll just betray you. They'll just straight up betray you. They'll dump you on your head. They'll leave you on the side of the street, or they'll leave you in the ditch. And you're like, why? How? What happened? At what point did you start to hate me? And why do they do this? They do it because of SE Trickster. Because SE Trickster ends up imagining improperly what everybody else owes them. And this is ISFP superego. Because ISFP superego is like, well, I need to value myself. I need to make a priority. These people aren't making me a priority, but I've been making them a priority this whole time. I've been so mega super supportive. But then as a result of that, I'm not getting anything out of it. These people owe me. These people owe me. The thing is that SE Trickster is so unaware of what other people have done for them, is that they can sometimes conveniently forget or are unaware of the good things that other people actually do for them. And because they don't really know how to weigh things out, they don't even know what the value is, and they don't really care about what the value is about what other people do for them. So then after a while, the INTP just ends up thinking that people owe them. This happens on the job constantly. I actually fired an INTP one time because she had that attitude. This attitude of, well, you owe me because I do all these things for you. And then my retort was, well, yeah, you do those things, but you're not doing a good job. It's pretty low quality, and you're coming off super mega entitled to what? More time and attention on my part? More money on my part? Like, it's not really that valuable. And yet you're telling me that I owe you? And you're telling me I'm a piece of shit because I'm not meeting that thing that you owe me? And then you just want to, completely leave on a whim? Or you want to, she cussed me out to my face. Okay. Very disrespectful. So fired her. Even though she claims that, oh, I quit. Okay, that's fine. Anyone can claim that, but whatever. I trusted you. I really did trust you. And, that's the thing about INTPs. They're extremely easy to trust until they're not. And it's usually because their SE Trickster has caused their ego to conflate whether or not you owe them something. It's ENTJ shadow greed, basically. The gluttony of their ego within their INTP all the way down to the greed of their ENTJ shadow. So when you combine gluttony and greed, you really have a serious problem on your hands. And that's literally what's going on. ESFJs have a similar problem with the INTPs. It's insanely pronounced because the extroverted sensing trickster is just not really aware of what other people have done for them, even though they may experience certain things that other people give them. And then at the same time, their NI critic, when people do things, good things for the INTP, when they do the INTP favors, the NI critic just looks at those people and is like, well, I didn't want that anyway, so that doesn't count. That is not something I'm going to put on my internal Crusader scoreboard that I have, because all Crusaders keep a scoreboard, by the way, of literally what everything that everyone does in their whole life. But the thing is that the SE Trickster combined with the NI Critic, the NI Critic's like, well, I didn't want that anyway. And then again, I'm not really aware of what other people are doing, but in the few times that I am aware of what other people are doing, I didn't want them to do that anyway, so that's not very valuable to me, FI Demon, so I'm just going to dismiss that favor this person did for me and actually count that as a negative on my scoreboard against them, even though that person literally just did them a favor. Okay? That is some insane TI hero hubris. Okay? And that happens all the time with INTPs. You know what? Guess what? ISTPs can also do that as well with their TI hero. The difference is they are interest-based. They are aware of what other people are doing, and they are aware of favors and when people do them favors. The issue is that they get that way when it comes about consequences, and they can make bad decisions that can cause everyone else to be, they can cause them to be a burden to everybody else. The thing is, the INTP is a little bit different. It's more of the INTPs trying to figure out who owes them what, because they have the deadly sin of gluttony, because it's like, hey, I need to protect my ability to consume because I am the biggest consumer of all of the 16 types. I need to make sure that I'm in a position to consume whenever possible. They always do that. Just watch them. Watch how they go out of their way to protect their consumption time. And most of the time when they're introverting, it's mostly them consuming, spending their introversion time consuming more so than actually producing, okay? This is why INTP men are seen by society as the most feminine of all of the types in men, even though technically on paper it's the INFP. But colloquially, it's INTP men because INTP men consistently consume more than they produce, right? It's like all of a sudden the solipsism that most people would expect from women is coming out hardcore in INTP men. They won't take care of themselves. They want to watch Netflix all day, or they want to play Call of Duty all day, or they want to do World of Warcraft all day, or Star Trek Online. It just doesn't matter. They have these idols that they serve, this insane idolatry that they can't let go of. And this addiction ends up becoming a burden on everyone else. In as much as bad or poor decision making on an ISTP can become a burden on other people, for the INTP, it's their addictions. Their addictions end up becoming the burden. And the reason they allow this to happen is because they're so dismissive of other people's opinions because of their TE nemesis. And you know, if someone, like, for example, if an INTP's spouse is to come up to them and be like, hey, you know, you shouldn't do this, the INTP is just going to dismiss them. Because unless multiple people are coming to the INTP and telling the INTP, hey, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad. Oh, and those people can't be related to one another, or the INTP couldn't imagine that those people may have colluded to be able to, you know, all collectively go to the INTP with that, because if they do that, they're just going to assume bias and then automatically dismiss those people. So they ends up creating for themselves this huge echo chamber, where the purpose of the echo chamber is literally just so that the INTP can consume more, to protect their ability to consume. Because at the end of the day, that's really what's actually important to the INTP, nobody else. As much as they like to make it look like they're being supportive, or when they are being supportive, INTP support really does come at a price. It really absolutely does. And eventually, if you're not reciprocating to the INTP, they're going to hate you. And they're going to sabotage you. I remember an INTP who sabotaged a business. He put a logic bomb in their network, destroyed all their data, and I was the guy that had to come in and clean up the mess. He went to jail over it. Pretty lame situation. Almost cost Uli Behringer his entire company. Uli Behringer, the CEO of Behringer Music Group, which is now a different company name, but he still owns it. Okay? And that company almost went down in flames, specifically because of what that INTP did in a fit of revenge, because he's like, y'all owe me, y'all treat me like crap, because that guy literally allowed himself to be treated like that one INTP in glasses who in that movie Office Space, because he was in the basement or whatever. And he allowed that to happen. And he's like, why aren't you all treating me better? Why aren't you all reciprocating? I do all these things for you. Yeah, sure, you do. But at the same time, you also conveniently dismiss all of the favors people do for you. Because what? You didn't want that? That's not what you asked for? You didn't even ask for anything. So people are still trying to figure you out. You INTPs are so mysterious, and you all are so hypocritical, that nobody around you actually even knows what you want from them. No one around you even knows what favors they can do for you. And they know that you're insanely consumptive. They know that you commit idolatry consistently with your addictions. So the only actual favor that anyone can do is just enable your addictions. And then you get mad at them when they don't enable their addictions, and then you label them people who are not reciprocating to you at all. And you count those favors as negatives on your scoreboard when they're actually positive, because those people may actually be aware of your needs, and you're not taking care of your needs while you're too busy worshiping your idol? Really? You gluttonous fucks. Like, seriously, stop doing that. I see INTPs ruin their marriages, ruin their children, ruin every relationship in their life due to their little dopamine addictions and being this huge burden on everyone else, only for them to feel justified in taking out serious revenge against other people, even to the point of murder. That ISFP demon comes out. You know, a great example of that would be the Kingpin, who is an INTP in the Daredevil show that was on Netflix. Now it's on Disney Plus. And then also you see him again in the Hawkeye series on Disney Plus. But that man is an INTP with ISFP demon coming out constantly. And there are people in the show that do the guy favors all the time. But he doesn't care about their favors. He literally walks around believing that they're too stupid to give him a favor that he actually wants, when the reality is the favor that he actually wants does nothing more than enable his addictions, his consumption, his gluttony. That's all it is. So really, the hypocrisy ends up being that the INTP is just punishing other people for not enabling their addictions. Literally. It's the most goddamn annoying thing in the world. I fucking hate it. It really pisses me off. And then it gets even worse, because then they judge other people for not being as consumptive as them. I got a really close friend of mine who literally he's an INTP, and he went over to his ENTJ friend's house, another mutual friend, and he literally made fun of my ENTJ friend for having too small of a television. And I'm like, what? You have what, an 80-incher, a 75-incher, and he's got what, maybe a 45, 50-incher? Like, why does it matter? Okay, honestly, sometimes I like watching television better on my phone than I do on actual television. Why does it matter? You know, that's the thing. Like, eventually people get around these INTPs, these hypocritical INTPs, and they're like, they want to do something nice for them, but then the INTP won't even accept the favor to begin with. And if the INTP is forced to accept the favor, they're like, inside of themselves, they're like, well, I didn't want this anyway because then I critic, and then they just count that favor against that person. So then, like, it creates a lose-lose situation. The person can't give them a favor, because if the person does them a favor, the INTP is going to count them against it. And if the person doesn't do the INTP a favor, the INTP will count that against them as well. So it doesn't matter what they do. They lose. And that's what happened to me. That's happened to me many times, the INTPs in my life. Many times. To the point where usually I expect them to betray me. I expect betrayal. I expect them to, as I say, pull out the chair out from under me, because they because they're so brilliant, they're so helpful, they end up becoming this very critical component of business that I conduct, or some social situation where they're like part of the foundation everyone else walks upon, and having their support is absolutely necessary. They are critical. They end up becoming a critical component to my life and how I conduct life. And I love them as friends. I love them as people. But then I do them favors and they count it against me. Or then I don't know what favor to do for them, so I don't do them favors and they count it against me. And then they get super vengeful, super angry, tell me that I'm abusing them, tell me that I'm taking advantage of them when I wasn't. And then they pull out the chair out from under me and punishing me, and then they punish me by taking out revenge. This has been consistent throughout my life. And the thing is, though, it's so funny. Here's another hypocrisy. It's so funny because they expect everybody else to know what's in their mind. But they're so behind the scenes, they won't actually share what's in their head. And they're like, well, you just have to ask me. And I'm like, yeah, but the problem is that even asking you, there's a risk that you're going to count that against me too. Because what I'm trying to tell INTPs here is that your hypocrisy makes it so that I'm not able to do you any favors. I'm not actually able to show you appreciation. And in fact, there are even times in my life where I do show you folks appreciation and you reject it. You won't even take a gift from me. You won't even allow me to contribute to you. And then you punish me later claiming I never contributed to you when I actually did. Or you took away my choice, or you took away my opportunity to contribute to you. What the hell, dude? You know, TI heroes have this problem where they just really can't accept help from other people. They really can't. You know, ISTPs have the problem too, but that they do it because of pride, whereas the INTPs do it because of, you know, as long as it doesn't get in the way of my ability to consume what I want when I want. Oh my god. INTPs, like, it ends up creating a situation where you're literally dealing with a human being who puts physical objects above other human beings, okay? Like, I mean, at least the INFJs, when they put animals over other human beings, at least, like, that animal is alive, you know? But, like, an INTP will put physical objects above other humans. That's SE Trickster. That's really fucked up. But they'll do it. They'll absolutely do it. And I can't deal with it. It's really painful, especially me being an NTP, because they're making all NTPs look bad when they do that. And they just expect me to know what's in their head. They just expect me to know what's on their mind. They expect me to know their judgments because they're projecting TE hero onto me. They're projecting their golden pair onto me with cognitive projection and expecting me to behave like some kind of ENTJ, which I'm not. I'm not an ENTJ. But because I'm not a TE user who's aware of what's in their head, then they punish me for it. So I have a really, really hard time hiring INTPs. I have a really, really hard time getting close to INTPs because I know deep down they're going to have a huge struggle even accepting any good thing that I do for them. And then they're going to get on my ass later accusing me of never doing anything good for them, when the reality of the situation is I did plenty good for them. Like, for example, my former INTP employee that I had before I fired her, you know, she asked me for money one day so that she could go rescue somebody who was stranded in New Mexico and bring them to their home in Georgia. You know, I did it. I was reluctant, I'll admit, but I did it. She asked me for that favor, I did the favor. And she did it. And then, even though I did that favor, she still betrayed me anyway. You know, I helped her buy her plane ticket to fly down there and, you know, and then get that, whatever they needed, and then they made it home safe in Georgia. But apparently I'm a piece of shit. I don't get it. I don't get it. And this is the problem, folks. It's dangerous. It's dangerous doing favors for INTPs, especially hypocritical ones. But even the non-hypocritical ones, you gotta watch out, because they could still hold it against you. It's very dangerous. I've even had an INTP tell me to my face, Chase, do not do me any favors because that just turns into more obligation towards you. And then later, they complained about me never doing favors for them. What the hell, dude? It's so ridiculous. It's insanely ridiculous. How the hell can I live life? It's so confusing. Their SE Trickster just can't keep proper track. And then, like, it gets worse because, like, the people that are absolutely the closest to the INTPs, those people, like the SE Childs in their life, the ENJs in their life, even the INJs, they really don't, eventually they figure out what the INTP's problem is with consumption and addiction and idolatry. They start to figure out that that's a problem, that their gluttony, deadly sin is a problem. And because of how gluttonous they are, they stop enabling the gluttony, basically. And then the INTP punishes them for that. Vengeance. They take out vengeance on anyone that inhibits them or doesn't enable them in their gluttony. It's so sick. But it's so common. It is so common. You know, granted, there is some, you know, benefit to all of the deadly sins. If they're so gluttonous, maybe they should spend time being productive so they can earn a lot to be able to spend more on the gluttony later. But they need to have a balance of productivity versus gluttony. They really absolutely do. But a lot of times, you tell INTPs that they're effing inferior, that they're being uncaring towards other people due to their gluttony, and then they take it so personally. Because then they start saying with their FI demon, here's another hypocrisy, I deserve to be gluttonous. I deserve to be gluttonous because I do all these favors for everybody else. So I get to be gluttonous when I want, how I want. Even if that means being a burden on other people, because I certainly wasn't a burden to them when I was being supportive of those people. So I deserve this. Oh God, gotta love that FI demon hubris. That FI demon, I'm going to play God because I know what I deserve, because I'm valuable, and because I was valuable to those people owe me, even though they don't owe you anything. And that's the thing about INTPs, you have to teach them that nobody owes them anything. And no one ever will owe them anything. When an INTP chooses to be supportive to other people, that's their choice. That's their choice, and I critic. That doesn't mean those people owe you. Okay? Now, granted, this is ultimately a covert contract. If you want people to owe you, start telling them that you owe them. And if you already have a backlog of favors that you've already done or support that you've already given to that person, that's on you. Ignore the backlog and then set your boundary for right then and there moving forward. But then again, you'll notice INTPs that when you do that, all of a sudden those people don't want to be your friend anymore. Right? Right? What about all the people who were actually your friend? What about all the people that did do you favors, even though they weren't enabling your gluttony, and you took revenge on them? Do you really feel good about yourself for that? Like, why do you think nobody likes you? Why do you think your effing inferior is so unfulfilled? Okay? Because you can't even accept a favor. Who cares if it's not exactly what you want? That's not how life works, and I critic. Who cares? Okay? And yeah, sometimes your any parent needs to be willing to accept what other people want to do for you. Why would people, you gotta ask yourself, you gotta have the patience to ask yourself this question, okay, well, why does Chase want to do this for me? Why is Chase making this decision? What is Chase seeing that I can't see? Chase sees that you're gluttonous and an idolater and stuck in your addiction. And you can't do it all on your own. Far be it from you to assume that you're the only person that can help you and no one else can. But you also don't get to arrogantly decide how other people help you. You don't get to make that decision. That's not okay. Because you're effectively playing God at that point. Okay? Because you can't, well, as internal as an INTP is, they don't know how they come off to other people. They don't understand other people's reactions. They don't even understand what they are putting out into the world or what vibes they're giving off. And because of that, they assume that everything's all good in the hood when it's really not. They're just unaware of how much their gluttony negatively impacts other people. And how all of the judgments in their life that they have towards others, even their judgments towards themselves with their FI demon, really comes down to gluttony. Because gluttony is their God. That's the problem. That's why they consistently fail in their life. This is why I tell INTPs to just get away and go do new things that they've never done before and force themselves to do it. Because they have to work with their gluttony. They can't abandon it. They can't learn to not be gluttonous anymore. That'll never happen. They have to learn how to turn their gluttony into a tool for self-improvement, which can be a thing. They have to create a system in their mind where they have to earn the right or earn consumption time. They have to earn consuming. But instead, they'll spend all their time on consuming, and they'll just be a burden everywhere else. The whole, kid in the mother's basement meme. That's all about INTP gluttony. That's all that is. And INTP gluttony, let's be honest, men, you INTPs out there, is the number one fear women have about you. It's the number one fear. You want to know the number one fear about men with female INTPs? Is that you'll let your gluttonous behavior take over, that you'll just let your body go. You'll be insanely fat like the rest of them, and then and then you'll end up being so lazy and so unproductive that you're nothing more than a beached whale burden in the home. Like, who wants to put a baby in that? You know what I'm saying? What makes you think you're so desirable? You're not. And it's so funny because any parent doesn't turn on until later in life, and then all of a sudden the INTP women are like, well, why doesn't anyone want me? Because you're ugly. Because you never took care of yourself. Because you have allowed your solipsism, your female solipsism, where you're putting self above tribe, to fuel your gluttonous behavior. No man wants that. That's not wife material. That's not marriage material. That's not mother material. You got to learn how to put the tribe above yourself. Your tribe above yourself. That's what it means to be feminine. But instead, you're using your ENTJ shadow to literally control everyone else around you so that you can continue to enable your gluttonous behavior. Wow. Oh my God. Thank God I'm not an INTP. I couldn't handle being an INTP. I'm happy with being an ENTP, very much so, because I'd rather have those hang-ups than what INTPs have to deal with. Like, seriously. Because INTPs can be, like, mega gross to me. And this is how they're mega gross to me when they do this. And they just don't even realize how manipulative they are, how much they take more than they give. Because, like, when you do an INTP a favor, they punish you for it. Oh my God. It's like the worst thing in the world. I hate it. And it's like their FI demon is incapable of showing gratitude. Okay? You know, at least with an ISTP, there's a chance. Because the ISTP can learn gratitude when you just withdraw from them entirely. And, like, they don't have your attention anymore. And then they snap out of it. You can't do that with an INTP. Because they're so comfortable in their shit. They're so comfortable worshiping their idols, worshiping their gods, worshiping their gluttony. They're so comfortable with that even if you withdraw, they're still going to do it anyway. Because they're just going to look at you and be like, meh, who cares? I'm happy with serving my god. I'm happy with serving my addiction. I'm happy with shooting up. I'm happy with World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft are these physical objects. My Warhammer 40k miniatures are more important to me than my own wife. Oh. Why? Why? And then to add insult to injury, these are the people who literally play God with the future of humanity. You got Bill Gates out there, he's an INTP, trying to go out of his way to, you know, because of his eugenics beliefs, his eugenicist belief system, and his Malthusian belief system, where he's literally trying to reduce the population of the Earth because he thinks humanity is the greatest threat to the Earth itself. When he doesn't even understand that's not even how biology works. But he's so arrogant and he's so conceited, and he's literally playing God. Like he bought all this farmland and whatnot, and pretty soon he's got this plan right now that he's openly talked about how trying to get the entire world's food production under 4 corporations, of which he exerts heavy influence. You like non-GMO food? You guys like organic food? Gone. It's completely gone. And then we'll just be fed cattle feed for the rest of our existence. Because we got to make sure that we're reducing the fertility and the lifespan of humanity, because humanity is a virus upon the earth. Okay? Thank you, Mr. Gates, for your enlightened opinion. Your bullshit enlightened opinion. Mr. I believe in Agenda 21, and Mr. I believe in the World Economic Forum's perspective of, oh, let's reduce the population of the Earth, because we're at 8 billion right now. We're going to reduce it down to 6 billion by 2040. Yeah, I wonder how we're going to do that, folks. But hey, you know, this is the guy who literally thinks that he gets to be the one who gets to choose who lives and who dies. Okay? That's what eugenics is all about. And that is Bill Gates' belief system. Yet, you know, all of his gluttonous nature is completely fine. He's nothing more than a glutton. He don't care. He's willing to sell y'all downriver so that he can worship his god. He's willing to sell y'all downriver for his little idols. Okay? He don't care. He don't care at all. Because you don't mean anything to him. You don't mean anything to his FI demon. You're nothing more than cattle to him. And guess what? That's how gluttonous INTPs treat other people. They treat them like cattle. And it just becomes this hypocrisy. You can't even help them. You can't even withdraw from them. They're not going to change. You can't even publicly shame them. There's nothing to FI demon. There's almost nothing you can do. There's only one thing you can do. Guilt them. Guilt them constantly. Guilt them for being a burden on everybody else in their life. And maybe they might be motivated to change for the better. Who knows? There's no guarantee of that. It's the most annoying thing in the world. I love them. I go out of my way to help them, but they don't listen to me. They dismiss me constantly. TI Hero dismisses me all the time. It's really frustrating. You know, and to have a TI Hero in my life who doesn't dismiss me, that's a rare treasure. It's an extremely rare treasure, a very valuable treasure. But they do. Because they're like, oh, you don't understand, Chase. You know, I work real hard. I do this. I deserve this. I deserve this. And I'm like, who are you to determine who deserves what? Even yourself. You can't do that. Okay? I get that you're triple systematic and trying to find the best way, but you spend all of your systematic, I need to find the best way to do things, because you're only really spending your systematism on you finding the best way to consume more. Wow. At everybody else's expense? It's really how they are. It's really how these INTPs are. That is their greatest hypocrisy. Right there. Laid out for you folks. You know? And it's really only the guilt. And the thing is, too, is that, like, when you do guilt them, it becomes a it gets even worse, because then they'll cling to the guilt. And then all of a sudden they'll allow people to abuse them. There's no in or out with it. That's another hypocrisy of theirs. When it comes to guilt, if you're trying to guilt them for their own good, they'll take it so seriously that they'll actually stay in an abusive situation, and while you're guilting them, there's a risk of you being abusive to them, and then they accept that abuse and then they live with that abuse. And it's like, well, hold on, where's the balance? Where's the boundaries? So that's the thing. If you keep telling them, yeah, you need to have boundaries, assert your boundaries, enforce your boundaries, those boundaries are usually just to protect their ability to consume. Or if you guilt them, trying to get them to stop, so that you're to stop enabling themselves, or to, actually control their gluttony and whatnot, well, guess what's going to happen? They're going to allow you or other people abuse them. And then they'll still take revenge out on those people who have abused them, when it was all their choice the entire time from the beginning. That's the worst part. How do you folks, literally just live your life like that? And that TI Hero is so arrogant, it won't listen to anyone else's advice. They have to come to the conclusion on their own. But even withdrawing won't help. It doesn't help. It doesn't help at all. Only constant challenge, forcing them, reminding them constantly as to how much of a burden they are, and showing them how much pain they cause to other people because of their gluttony. That's what you have to do. It's a serious problem, folks. A major problem. You really have to question to their face how valuable they're actually being. You have to question their value as a human being. But then even then they might just go, well, I don't feel human because if I deem it, and I'm just a machine anyway, so why the fuck does it matter? I'm just going to keep doing what I can do, because the only thing in that life that matters is how much I can consume. It's like, wow. Wow. And you wonder why no one actually likes you. You wonder why no one values you. You wonder why nobody wants you, right? If you want to be desirable, you want people to want you, you need to put in more effort. You need to be more productive. That's how it works. You want someone to actually like you, then you need to actually be willing to listen. INTPs and ISTPs, but INTPs, you want someone to like you, you need to be willing to listen. Listen to that TI Hero instead of being so conceited that you just dismiss what other people are saying and stop stupid zoning other people. You want people to like you? That's what you need to do. Learn to listen, okay? It's no different than what I tell the TI inferiors. They need to learn to listen even more than you do. But I know how important that it is for you to be liked. So read How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. It's a super important book. Every TI hero and TI inferior should read that book. Holy shit. Get it done. Okay? Because the reality of the situation is that no one's going to like you if you're not willing to listen. And people know after a while, after observing you, especially the SE users, they will know that you only listen when it benefits you consuming. Because they just know you're gluttonous. And then that just makes you gross to them. They know you're around a gluttonous person. They want to be around someone who is supportive. They want to be around someone who doesn't greedily organize their life around their desire to consume. It's ridiculous. It's super hypocritical. That's not what INTPs are all about. They want to be around people. They want to be around people who can actually accept favors or who can actually accept nice things. They want to be around those people. That's important as well. But hey, you know, who can accept that? Who even knows that, right? Who actually can? So, in summary, like, be careful doing favors for INTPs because they may count your favor against you. Be careful with INTPs doing you favors because they'll count that against you. Just realize that, like, seriously, go up to your INTP and just ask them, what do you think I owe you? Ask them that often. Get them to admit out loud to you. Get them to admit that they don't actually owe you anything and that it was their choice to be supportive. Think about it. Like Jesus said in the New Testament, he talks about how, you know, the Pharisees and the teachers of the law, they'd like to pray in public, make themselves look super pious and whatnot. They like to give vast sums of money at the temple collection box in front of other people to make themselves look good. And Jesus is like, well, that's their reward. Making themselves look good, that's their reward. And then he's like, when you give, do it in secret, because then your reward will be from your Father in heaven, and it won't be, you know, in front of like all these people, because they're the resounding gongs or the clanging cymbals. Well, that's INTPs, folks. That's INTPs. They need to understand that when they need to give in secret, because FE inferior has this problem where they give in order to receive gratitude. It's really what they want. Gratitude, so that they can feel good about themselves. They're not really being supportive for the sake of being supportive. They're being supportive so that they can garner that amazing gratitude so they can feel good about themselves. And I'm here to tell you folks, that is their reward. So if you said thank you to them when they did you a favor, that's their reward. And that was their choice because they didn't ask for anything else. Okay? That's reality. And if they claim that you owe them otherwise, no. Nope. It's on them. It's on them for not communicating. It's on them for not sharing their thoughts with you because they expect everyone else to know what's in their head automatically. No. That's not how it works. That's not how life is. And that's how you need to call out INTPs in your life who do that to you. Otherwise, if you don't hold them accountable in that regard, guess what? They're going to take revenge on you. They're going to pull out that chair out from under you. They will destroy your life because they imagine you're destroying theirs, even though you actually aren't. Wow. Such great human beings. No wonder no one likes them. You see what I'm saying? Like, no wonder no one accepts them. They don't even, like, their own hubris blinds them from the truth of what they themselves are doing. Being a burden on other people so that they can protect their ability to consume more. Wow. Such hypocrisy. Such a burden on the rest of the human race. Ridiculous. I hope they grow up, and I hope they realize what they're doing. I hope that they can actually accept favors. That would be nice. without it counting against me. That would be nice. So, anyway, folks, thanks for watching. Please leave comments below if you have any questions relating to this particular lecture. I hope it answered some questions about the hypocrisy of INTPs. And thank you all. I love you all, and I'm very thankful that you're all here with us. So, anyway, folks, with that being said, I'll see you guys tonight.
You stole my heart of gold after my silver soul. Can you dig in